Anyway, with that, I'm going to turn it over to the mayor.
Good afternoon, and as always, thank you for joining us for our weekly press briefing. There are a few things that we have prepared before we dive into questions that you may have. First, we want to commend our Parks and Recreation Department on another successful 4th of July fireworks celebration. This was held at Smith-Will Stadium. I have received reports that there was tremendous attendance out there. Even in spite of the rain, people stayed and, was there to enjoy the holiday, and there were no incidents. So I think it's always important that as we continue to host large-scale events for the public, that we point out that we're able to do these things in peace and harmony. It receives all of the news and attention on the rare occasion that those things do not happen. And so we want to commend Parks and Rec along with JPD for helping to ensure that we had a safe and successful 4th of July celebration. This is a cool thing. Junior Olympics, the trials. Dozens of athletes were in town over the weekend hoping to qualify for the Junior Olympics in track and field. I think that is a testament to the facilities that the Jackson Public School District have improved in that area. Most of the events took place at Hughes Field. Parks and Recreation Department came in as a critical support at this time. There was some issues apparently with distributing waters to those that were in attendance to see these athletes, and our Parks and Recreation Department graciously stepped into place to ensure that as we dealt with the tremendous heat that we've all grown accustomed to, that people were hydrated and supported, and so we're grateful for that. Athletes who qualify, many were from the metro area, will be headed to Texas to the Junior Olympics. So I ask that you stay tuned to that and certainly support our own as they try to propel themselves forward. An event that is coming up with respect to Parks and Rec this July 13th is our annual ice cream safari. I have made it clear, and I understand that there's some gentlemen of Omega Psi Phi that are supposed to be there too. Lewis, know where you're supposed to be, right? The mayor's office, we're declaring our victory. We got some plans, right? We won't go too far into that. We know what our flavor is. Half the time they don't tell us our flavor until we get there. So, you know, that's to handicap us a little bit, but we know, and we're gonna be ready. So, Chief, I don't know if JPD is gonna be out there. I know the fire department, they typically talk a lot of noise. Yeah. But this is an annual event for those that may not be aware and may not have attended, that is at the Jackson Zoo. It is very well attended. It's not only an opportunity to reintroduce and invite you to experience our zoo, but there are a lot of fun activities for children especially. We have ice cream to test. We're talking about the competition because each station, from news stations and TV and radio stations, they participate each year, and so it's big fun. It's a party with a purpose, and so we want you to come out. It supports our zoo, it helps it maintain, and so we want you to come out and enjoy yourselves, and vote for. Bring your token to the mayor's table, to the administration's table. We'll accept all tokens. We're non-discriminatory towards tokens. Also, another event that I'd like to invite Karamu forward to talk about. For the second year in a row, the Brothers of Omega Psi Phi are having a very special summer party. This year, they are donating a portion of their proceeds to JPS, and we're excited to hear more about this announcement. All right.
Good afternoon. Yeah, I know. I want to say thank you to Mayor Lumumba and the mayor's office for allowing me to speak today during this press conference. Who am I? I am Karamu Cunning, and I am representing the brothers from the Central Mississippi Coalition of Chapters. These brothers are members of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated from Jackson, Mississippi, Canton, Mississippi, Yazoo, Mississippi, and Vicksburg, Mississippi. This is our second annual year in putting on this event. This event, Summer Breeze Mississippi, carries several purposes. One of those purposes are to raise scholarship funds for our youth here in the city with Jackson, in the city with soul. I like to call it the city with soul, Jackson, Mississippi. One of those schools is Lanier High School. That is one of our adopted schools, so we're doing our best to raise funds to send our youth off to college. Also, it serves the purposes of increasing revenue for hotels here, attractions, and restaurants. So we're doing our part by providing a social experience for the City with Soul and to raise scholarship funds for our youth here in Jackson, Mississippi. This event will be held on Saturday, July 27th, at one of our outstanding attractions, the Mississippi Museum of Art. It will begin at 7 p.m. and this year we are featuring our women. We have all women entertainers from Karen Brown, Stephanie Luckett, DJ Alpha Whiskey coming in from Memphis, Tennessee, and let me tell you something. If you have not attended this event, I encourage you guys to attend it. Again, it's going to be Saturday, July 27th at the Mississippi Museum of Art beginning at 7 p.m. And that's all I have. All the tickets, thank you, Mrs. Payne. Visit summerbreezems.com for all your information in regard to this outstanding event. Once again, that's summerbreezems.com. Oh yeah, thank you, thank you. I'm also pleased to announce that we've partnered with City Parks and Recs. They will be assisting us on some things needed for this event's success. Thank you. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother. I just needed him to remember I was coming up to the mic after him, so I was, you know. No, we want to thank the brothers of Omega Psi Phi, not only for hosting this event, but what the ultimate intent is, and that's to support our young people. So I encourage people to attend, show up. We want a sellout crowd there because it benefits our young people. You know, we did a similar event. Some people were talking about my outfit, but it was actually a fundraiser for children. So we're always happy to see these events take place. And all the things you do, Brother Karamu, unpredictable. I'm used to calling you unpredictable, so we appreciate that. Let me let you know about a program that our solid waste, specifically our cutting division of our solid waste division in Public Works is doing. Lakeisha Weathers will more than likely be here with us next week. She's out this week to give you more details. But we're working hard to combat the overgrown grass around our city, as you know. We're not only trying to catch up behind the rain, and that makes it more difficult, but we're also doing contracts. So you will see, I want to alert the media that you will see contracts with private contractors to help us deal with the landscape and aesthetic appeal of our city. And so that will help. For me, I will tell you what I'm evaluating. I'm not only evaluating the value of those contracts and how they work for us, I'm evaluating that in comparison to the efficiency or lack thereof internally. So I'm not only saying that to the media, I'm saying that to our workforce, that we want to get it right. We want to support you in what you need, right? But we want to make sure that not only do we cut what we need to cut, but we do it appropriately, that it looks like the city we live in, that it looks like it has quality, that edges are trimmed as they should be, that when grass is cut, we don't leave the grass in the street. So I want you to know that we're taking an intense look at this, and not only looking to augment the work that we're doing, but we're looking at efficiency and effectiveness across the board as it relates to this. Within this program, I'd like to let it be known that we've had several residents, neighborhood associations, that as always are coming to the support of their city and have made it clear that they want to help. And so in this program that Lakeisha will be talking about, which is called the Cut Above program, we'll be talking about ways that residents could use their personal equipment to help in certain areas, those that have asked about supporting, right? So we want to give them the opportunity. We certainly don't want to lose that energy when people want to help out with their city. We just want to make sure that we appropriately coordinate it and use it in the most effective means possible. So please expect Lakeisha's rollout of that next week. Last two announcements here is one, the vendor portal is now a portion, the first phase of that is complete. We're working hard, I should say, to make doing business in the city easier. And so this helps vendors who are trying to work in the city to more readily assess the portal and the information that they need. You can go on the website, jacksonms.gov, /, purchasing, and you will find everything you need to know to register your business for work with the city. This is a part of the work that we've been grateful to receive from Harvard. Our good friend Brent Westergren has been working with us to improve our purchasing rules, how we acquire goods and services, how we expand opportunities to various business owners across the city to make certain that when we invest in projects or when we pay towards something in the city of Jackson, that money recirculates within our community and goes to continue to benefit the needs that we have across the board. So making it easily accessible is a part of that process, and so we're excited about that vendor portal being open. A user guide is available on the landing page. So go on the city's website. Once again, that's jacksonms.gov /purchasing, and you'll be able to find this. One last announcement is that we have tentatively set the date for the State of the City for October 10th. Tentatively scheduled for October 10th. We've also passed out, I don't know if there are going to be questions with this, but we've passed out a list to the media that is present of the traffic lights that we have logged into the system as having issues. We just had another one over the weekend, which is Briarwood and State Street. That's one where someone hit the cabinet. Several of these have either aged out because they're older light systems, or we've had a frequency with people either hitting the lights, hitting the cabinets. We've had the unfortunate issue of arson in at least one or two that we know for definitively with these. And so our traffic lights are important. They're important to the safety of our residents, to anyone who drives in our city. And so we're prioritizing this. This list outlines what has already been repaired. It also outlines what will be repaired in the near future and by whom. Those that will be repaired by contractor, those that will be repaired in-house. And lastly, expect that we will talk about a more progressive method going forward, that we know that we have several lights that are aging, and so how do we better prepare for the inevitability of their decline, these traffic lights. So with that, any questions that you have, we're prepared to take them. Yes, sir.
Mayor, I would just like, if possible, to get some clarity on this regarding comments that were made on last Ask ADNOC. You said that the city's collection rate again was higher than Jackson Water's in bringing in water revenue. However, a document on Jackson Water's website shows that in the 10 months before the third-party manager took over, water collections for the city averaged about 3.8 million. Since he took over, it's averaged about 4.7 million a month. Yeah. Could you offer some clarity on that?
Well, I'm going to invite my CFO to come and speak to that. What I have referenced to you is the very documents and the very statements that Jackson Water themselves have given us and communicated to us. And what we have said is that they were collecting at what they shared with us at 52%, right? The city of Jackson at its lowest was at 76%. 72%. That's a 20% difference, right? And what I'm asking that we do is not champion or work against Jackson Water. I'm asking that the same level of observation and accountability that was applied to the city of Jackson, as we admitted, I walked into, be very clear, I walked into a billing issue, right? That's not one that started under our administration. We knew that was a challenge. And so we came in, and even our first public works director learned how difficult it was. So I'm not saying it as if, you know, we think that it's an easy go, like it's something that's easy to do. What I am saying is that there are lessons learned. And just as we walked in, we tried to receive those lessons. We learned that one of the things we shouldn't do is publicly announce an embargo on collecting bills because of the challenges with the metering software. That people then think that it becomes optional, and then you have a higher rate of people who are not paying into it. So we learned from that, and that was something that was learned from the prior administration that we came in. We talked about challenges that we had within leadership within our water billing department, and how that led to efficiency. We had intense conversations about what was beneficial and what didn't work. So this comes on the heels not of an administration that's hoping that we don't have success. This comes on the heels of an administration that every step of the way has offered support so that you don't have to bump your head in areas that I've already bumped my head, Anthony, right? There's no sense if we're in this together, and if our ultimate goal is efficiency, if our ultimate goal is to have a system that is effective, then we should be having conversation together about what has worked and what hasn't worked. And it is senseless to watch you walk down the same road that we already know where the destination takes you, and then, you know, not understand why we have seen failure again. And so there's been some efforts to try to pretty up the numbers, right, and try to rewrite the narrative, but quite simply and quite plainly and unequivocally, the level of scrutiny and the identification of those challenges in billing and other areas is not today where it was when we were in control. And that's not to say that there should not have been scrutiny. We're saying that we have a fragile water system and there was problems and we needed support. We didn't have the benefit of $800 million, right? So not only should you do an evaluation to see where things are, it should also include, well, we have to grade on a curve when we see one had $800 million and the other one didn't, right? So all of those things have to be in consideration when we look at these.
Yeah, so Anthony, I think that there is still some confusion in terms of the percentages that we speak of. The collection percentage that's generally shared is based on how much is billed to residents and then what's collected. That's how you come up with the percentage. So if your billed amount is high, right, you should expect a corresponding collection percentage as well. But when you're comparing the actual numbers, that does not speak to the actual collection percentage. Some of the differences that you will see in the actual bills that go out, the time you may have looked at is when the city was experiencing stranded bills, right? And once that gets fixed, then bills get released. So you will see a fluctuation in some months where you see a spike, and that represents the stranded bills that have been released into the system. So that's where the differences are. But with respect to the collection percentage, to calculate that, you'd have to look at what's billed and what's collected, and that will give you the percentage.
Another point of clarification really briefly, even on what is billed, because that's basically what you're hitting on, right? We also didn't have the benefit of a court order that ordered Entergy to release its customer list so that could be compared with those who are getting water in the city of Jackson. We didn't have the benefit of that, right? And so that all has to be put into consideration when you're looking at these numbers.
Is that something the city can stop?
We talked about comparing with other financial, I mean, I don't mean financial, other utility providers. That certainly was a part of the conversation, but we didn't have the ability to compel anything through a federal court order. Yes, sir.
What was the reaction to the reporting that came out during the Mary Carter trial?
Well, first of all, let me say this. I was asked when I was on the stand if I had made the statement. Let's be clear. That statement and that conversation took place 2 years ago, right? So if I asked you any given day what you said in a meeting 2 years ago, it might be hard on you. I knew of some of those things because we knew that it was going to be in their case in chief, and we discussed, what those matters were. The reason that wasn't is because it had nothing to do with the underlying claim that she was making. Let's be clear. She was making a claim about a First Amendment right, and then there was a statement about me talking about the critical need of the work and the potential consequences of this not being a black city. So let me say this unequivocally in case anyone's confused or is not clear. I am proud that I live in a majority black city, right? And I don't apologize for that. Now, does that mean that I have any ill intent or ill will or any design towards anybody else? Absolutely not. When we look at the treacherous history of the state of Mississippi, where some of the most horrible suffering has taken place, we should be proud, and I question anybody who isn't proud, that we live in a space where black people have the opportunity for political and economic prosperity, growth, and power, right? That doesn't mean that we're against any other people, right? But we're like anybody else, right? There is some comfort in being able to be in a space that looks like you, that relates to you culturally, and so I am unequivocally not ashamed and very clear on that, right? So I don't think that it's also those statements run afoul of, conversations you've had with me, Charlie, in interviews, and I talked about the threats of the state and why some of these things are taking place. So I don't think anybody should be surprised in any way. What we should be surprised in is that it was intended to be manipulated in such a way in order to stir a racial, what would give the appearance of a racial discrepancy in what was happening, right? The point is that Mary Carter was terminated by my then white public works director, and the city was very successfully defended by what happens to be our white city attorney, right? And so the jury, who happened to be majority white, because I saw them, they were not mistaken by what was being attempted there, and the city prevailed in that lawsuit. And so that surmises what my perspective is. So would you say that you stand by the comments that you made in the report? Absolutely. Absolutely. I will tell you, because you find in this role that when people know that they're in trouble, that they start recording every conversation, you're gonna definitively find that I'm not going to be ashamed of any comments because I assumed I'm being recorded at all times in life, right? In every moment, not just because there are cameras, I always assume and have always assumed that I'm being recorded. So if I say it, then I meant it. As you can tell, I am careful. I choose my words. Words mean a lot to me. And so I choose the words typically that I want to use. I'm not saying that I'm infallible and don't make mistakes, but there is no issue or no story there. It's consistent with everything I've always said. Yeah.
And just switching gears too, are you going to set up contracts for the police chiefs and fire chiefs now that the council has overridden your veto? What are the next steps into that?
Well,
have you talked to Councilman Stokes about it at all?
No, Councilman Stokes does not communicate with me. He's made that very clear, which runs afoul of what the roles are. I want people to know that the role of city council and mayor is not for it to be an antagonistic relationship. The role of city council and mayor is supposed to be an extension of the work. It's supposed to be an arm that allows us to reach into the zones that the city council members represent so that they can inform and allow us to support. Do you know 99.9% of the time when we stand here and respond to a Sunday evening press conference that Councilman Stokes had about an issue, some legitimate, that we received no information before, right? And so it makes that decision inherently political, that it wasn't about receiving relief for the people. You didn't tell us so that we can go work on it. You wanted to make it a Sunday evening story so that we can just talk about it and fight over it. But to answer your question, no, there will be no contracts. I sometimes feel like I'm Dr. Seuss on this, right? The council cannot issue a contract. They can't do it on a boat. They can't do it with a goat. They can't do it high. They can't do it low. Like, the courts have unequivocally said this. The council cannot issue a contract. So even when we present the story as, oh, they said the next step is to present a contract, first of all, the entire effort of this is to be distracting. It's to create the illusion that there is some beef between the chief and I, right? One of the reasons that I'm against the contract, and Chief, you want to, let me step aside. I'm going to let him say it, then I'll finish it.
Thanks for asking. All right, first of all, I want to start by thanking the council and the mayor for their continued support during my administration and my time as chief of police. I want to state that I have not solicited nor asked for a contract at any time since I have been the police chief. I respect the will of the mayor. I respect the will of the council. But I want to be clear, I didn't take this job for money, power, ego, or job security. I understand what comes with this job. I took it to improve the conditions here in the city of Jackson. I took it to improve the conditions within the Jackson Police Department. I want to thank the citizens of Jackson for their love and support of me. I've received so many phone calls and text messages through this contract conversation. And they've urged me to hurry up and sign the contract before the mayor fire you. And I've explained to them, we've had deep conversations, and they are concerned about it. It's confusing to them. And of course, I told them I have more questions than answers in reference to a contract. But I have a good professional relationship with the mayor, and we both share a mutual respect of each other. I'm excited about the future of the Jackson Police Department. Very excited. We finally have upward trajectory. We now have respect from the citizens. We have respect from other law enforcement here in the state of Mississippi. But this is not about me. I want to be absolutely clear. This is not about me. This is about the men and women who put that gun and badge on every single day and put their lives on the line here in the city of Jackson. They deserve to have the tools they need to do their jobs effectively, and they deserve pay raises. Pay raises. And that's something that we're going to talk about as we move forward. So I want to make sure as a leader that I'm fighting for the people that I lead, and that's how I'm going to fight for them. It's not about me. It's about the people who live, work, go to school, and go to church here in the city of Jackson, giving them a better quality of life, and I am laser focused on that. I'm open for any questions if you may have them.
You're not signing a contract.
What's that?
You're not going to sign a contract.
Well, I think the mayor made that clear. There is no contract for me to sign, but me as a professional, I would have to have a lot of questions answered. I have been with the city of Jackson since 1995. I've been paying into the retirement system for almost 29 years.
If I can speak to that, because
Okay.
what I'm trying to defend against is the chief having to get too much into his personal finances and what benefits are. What hasn't come up in the conversation is that if he signs a contract, then he is then responsible for his health care. If he signs a contract, then it affects what he ultimately receives at the end for his retirement, right? So you should ask a person, right, before you champion something, right? You know what it reminds me of, right? It reminds me of when my father died and Kenny Stokes jumps out and says, Chokwe Lumumba was murdered. You didn't ask the family how we felt about that. You didn't ask us whether that was beneficial to us, right? You didn't ask us if we needed you to be our champion in that time. And so, as Councilman Stokes, by his own words from this dais has said, he said, listen, I hadn't talked to the chief about this, right? I have talked to the chief about it, right? And so for those that are talking about the intent was for you to believe that there was some issue between the chief and I. Let me be unequivocal. The chief's job is safe. He is doing a great job. I don't judge him based on whether a murder happened yesterday. I'm trying to look at the proactive things that they're trying to do. I'm trying to look at how he's leading the men and women of the Jackson Police Department. In my estimation, he's doing an amazing job in that. Are there still things to correct? Like every other thing in the city, absolutely, right? So there is no issue with me and the chief. There is no discussion about him being removed. And this has all been a distraction. It's a distraction because there's no issue with us, but it's also a distraction because they cannot issue a contract. Every court in the land has said this, right? We don't need to revisit this. So let's, I'd rather just move on from it. Right. Yes. Let me see if there's some other questions and I'll come back to you. Are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the recent ordinance that was passed about businesses having like cameras and stuff like that. Recently there was an incident, this morning there was an incident where the security guard was literally like killed by 3 teenagers. How does the city stand forward?
I see Chief wants to walk forward. He may want to speak to that incident. Let me say this. As I said before, we support the spirit of that ordinance and the design that there's more coverage. Some time ago, the state legislature passed law that reduced the liability on property owners for events that take place or incidents that take place on their property. In turn, a lot of those business owners then saw that it was no longer necessary to carry security at those locations because they wouldn't be held liable in the way that they were being held liable previously. So we definitely want to do anything that we can to make sure that there is more, a better public safety effort at locations, especially locations that have had frequent events. We are concerned about the constitutionality and the fact that those laws have been challenged in other places. So knowing that, we don't want to just have our legal department tell us what we can't do. We want them to tell us what we can do. And I believe that they're working hard to tell us what we can do. As they passed that ordinance, I talked to our city attorney and I said, Drew, let's find out how we do this correctly, right? And so I take him at his word and his team's word. They're working hard to make certain that we do it effectively and constitutionally.
All right, thank you. Yes, I spoke about this earlier at a press conference in my office, and my heart and prayers go out to the gentleman who lost his life. And yes, it was a very horrible situation and circumstance, but as far as the ordinance, I think that is something that can be beneficial, especially if it's tied into our RTCC. Now, our solvability rate in homicides right now is 79%, and it's because of surveillance footage. That whole incident last night was captured via surveillance. And we were able to make a quick apprehension thanks to the hard work of Precinct 1 and Precinct 2 police officers. Again, this is a multi-layered issue because this was committed by 3 juveniles, a 16-year-old and 2 17-year-olds who had a plan of robbing the security guard and taking his weapon. They took his weapon and they still took his life. That is unacceptable, and they will be held accountable for those horrible, horrible actions on last night.
That was your end of your question? Yes, sir.
What are the chances of JPP? Is there like a process?
Yeah, there's a whole budget. There's a budget season that we're in. It's just starting as like today, really. And so we'll have individual discussions with each department chair or chief to talk about what their desires are within their department, whether they have identified within their own budget areas that they can capture savings to achieve what they want to do, or where we have to apply from other areas. So it's a long process because, most things in the city are not, those things that aren't accomplished are not left unaccomplished because of a lack of political will. It's left unaccomplished for a lack of resources. Our needs exceed our means, and so that makes it difficult to identify, you know, what those priorities have to be, because all of them are needs that our community want fulfilled. Yes, sir.
Three quick questions. One goes back to the contract. I want to circle back to that. Is the city going to have to take legal action on that because of the council vote, or is this, you know,
They can't issue a contract. I mean, they can put whatever paper they want out. It won't be an enforceable contract. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Two of the questions. One is about, let me go back. You were talking about the traffic lights today, and you know, it kind of brings up public works and efforts to, you know, bring on an engineer, bring on the public works director. I kind of want to ask about that. And then also, at, I think a previous press conference, you mentioned that there was this one employee who was being investigated for some issues, and I just wanted to see if there was an update on that.
I think that investigation is still underway. I think that's going to be a pretty thorough and maybe far-reaching investigation. So there's no further update at this time. With respect to engineering services, we anticipate that there will be a contract on the next agenda that puts forth engineering services to augment that. We're still trying to, you know, evaluate candidates for Public Works Director. We think that the structure, and we know that the structure which we have in place now has not seen anything fall that weren't already challenges, right? So it's worked efficiently. It hasn't stopped the workflow. But we need to make sure that we have the right candidate, not only to mention the fact that this is at the end of an election cycle, right? So if we're looking high and low candidates both in the city and beyond, right? Before somebody relocates to Jackson, Mississippi in order to take that job, there are certain, you know, things that they want to know that are assurances, right? Unlike our chief, who is very much assured that he has his job and that it's not a problem. The last thing about a contract, which is so egregious, that any mayor has the ability, you know, to either issue a contract that the council then votes on. That's the way it goes, right? Or you can get out of a contract, right? So it's a false sense of security. All it does is create more confusion and problems from the individual side than it actually solves. Right? So.
I got a follow-up too. You mentioned this about the Public Works Director, and that position, you know, there's not been a full, I guess, full-fledged director now for a while. Is that something that you think is going to not happen until after the next municipal election?
I think that that's a high chance that may not happen till then, but once again, I am 1,000% confident that it will be of no consequence because not only will we augment our engineering services, it stops no workflow or evaluation of what's being done, right? Mm-hmm. Yes? Our CAO. The Public Works Director would typically report to the CAO, and so now it just removes the Public Works Director and the reports go directly to the CAO. Let's be clear that we've had Public Works Directors or people that were going to be presented and literally run away before they could have a day on the job, right? So it's not just a matter of the administration trying to get it right. People have to accept that they want to be in this environment, right? An environment where, you know, people are being ridiculed for what they can or cannot do before they even have an opportunity to perform, right? And so all those things, you know, you don't want the person who's looking for a job, right? You want the person who's good that you have to look and get them. When I know I have a good hire, it's when wherever they're leaving, they're upset that they're leaving, right? It's when they don't have to seek me out, right? Not to say that some people who have sought me out haven't been good in those roles, but by and large, it's usually not the person who's, you know, seeking an opportunity here, there, and everywhere. It's the person that, because of their skill, because of their accomplishments, because of their talents, have demonstrated that they present value, and it's very hard in order to lure those people away. We've been successful in many regards. Time and time again in various divisions, and this is another one of the equations that we have to figure out. That happens in this role. It happens all the time. Yeah. All right. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all very much.